What's going on, guys? This is Chandler Smith, and today I am with the legend Jimmy Rex, who just this last year sold over 320 homes, all while taking 127 days vacation. So today he's going to share with us all of his tips and tricks to be able to sell a ton of homes while vacationing most of the year. So with that being said, let's jump into it. I'm so excited to be here today because I have so many people on the channel asking me about using a realtor, asking me how to be a better realtor, and I am no realtor, I just invest in real estate. So I decided to bring the best realtor in the business in here to be able to tell you all of the tips and tricks to selling a ton of homes, all while traveling the world in the process. So Jimmy, I'm excited to have you.
Dude, it's fun to be here, man. Thanks for letting me share this with your audience.
For sure. It's going to be good. I mean, first off, tell us what your tricks are. I mean, what in the heck are you doing to be able to get all this travel time all while selling so many freaking homes?
Yeah, one of the things that people make the mistake of is they say, what's the one thing you're doing to, it's like, it's like saying, what's the one food you're eating to a bodybuilder to get him big, right? There's so many things that go into it. But that being said, if you've ever talked to a bodybuilder, you know that they have a very distinct system that they're using to be able to look like that, right? Same thing with real estate. When I got in 2005 into this business 15 years ago, I'm older than I look, all I knew is I needed to find business. So I would call for sale by owners every single day for 3 or 4 hours every day. And then I'd go on appointments all night. That was my whole system. And it worked. But then I got burned out. And the problem was I went 7 years at one point without taking more than a 3-day vacation. And I just was like, everyone gets into real estate to have this cool life, right? You want to travel the world. You want to, network, and you want to have all this time off to do what you want, be with your family, spend time doing the things you love. And all of a sudden I was just like glued to my office or my car, even worse. And so I kind of said to myself, I'm like, well, what do I actually, in 2010, I'd been a realtor for 5-6 years. I'd made and lost millions of dollars as a real estate agent. I mean, my second year as an agent, I sold 98 homes using that system of just pounding the phones and pounding the doors. It works, but I was burned out. And I knew I needed to do something different. So I talked to my real estate coach and we set up this system. And this is kind of what I do now. So that's why a long answer to a short question, but there's really about 5 things that I wanted to do that I wanted my business to be centered around, because I said, I don't want to keep being a realtor if this is what being a realtor is. And so what I said is like, all right, the things I got in for. Networking. So number one is like, I want to learn how to network. So I said, we can do this through social media. We can do this through having the best client parties. I already threw a lot of parties in college. I knew how to throw a good party. So I'm going to just equate this to my business. And I said, I really was passionate about a couple different charities, particularly some children's charities. I said, I'm going to figure out how to use that as a tool to help me with my real estate business. And then the biggest thing, the one that you talked about is, so last year, what happened is about 5 years ago, in fact, it was 2014, so 6 years ago, I had a buddy, his name's Eric Hill. And he was actually on The Bachelor when this happened, but he had a goal. He was going to be the quickest person to ever travel to every country. And he had this website, Go With Eric, his Odyssey, his Global Odyssey. And what happened is it was on Easter Sunday he'd been going for about 6 months. He'd been to 55 or 60 countries, something like that. Oh, yeah. And he was using a hang glider and hit a mountain and died. And me and all my friends were pretty devastated, and we were good friends. We talked to him every 2 weeks or so. And I just kind of had this moment where I was like, wow, like that quickly it was taken. But there was so much honor in his life because he always did what he wanted to do. He traveled. He saw more in his 30 years of life than most people see in 10 lifetimes. And I said, I'm not going to do it this way anymore. I'm going to travel the world again. But I said, if I'm going to travel the world, I got to make sure it doesn't affect my business. And I said, in fact, I create better bonds with my friends and people that I travel with than any other time I'm with them. And so I said, if I can do this the right way strategically, I can go travel the world. I can see everything I want to see, and I can actually build up my business. So what I started doing is I would throw these different vacations and trips where I'd get 50 people on a houseboat trip or 100 people to multiple houseboat trips. And then people started asking me to go on their trips to help them and all these different things. And, me and my friends would do a charity. We did a trip to an orphanage in Haiti. And then we started working with the group, going undercover with them. And we'd go to all these different countries. And I was meeting the most amazing people. And the cool thing about working through charities and trips is you meet really cool people. Cool people like to travel. Cool people like to work with charity, and cool people like to party. And so I was just hanging out with really cool, successful people. And all of a sudden they were all using me for real estate. And I went from selling about 70 houses a year, bumped up to about 150. And then I realized, that I'm still missing one piece here. And what happened is you kind of got to duplicate yourself. My team there's only 4 of us on my team, me and 3 other agents. And between the four of us last year, we were able to sell 324 properties. And what we did is we just basically, I brought people on that are smarter than me. The two agents I use here locally in Utah, they're just the best buyer's agents. I can give them any lead and know that I don't have to worry about it. And that's one thing that you have to have with people that are around you. You can't be worrying once you hand something off whether or not it's getting done. You have to have competent people around you. And you have to have people that are consistent. So the one thing I tell everybody, every real estate agent, is no matter what, and no matter what strategy you use, whatever tactic you use to sell real estate, the number one thing is you have to be consistent. I still have to get on the phone and make my calls every day. Now, 40% of my leads today in 2020 come through social media, through Instagram specifically. Frankly, 90% of those. And the reason why is because I figured out a system. I figured out how to use my Instagram, not as this funny little thing I do when I'm going to the bathroom, but instead is the most powerful tool. I mean, this is my reality show. This is my billboard. This is my, all the marketing that I have. And basically, people want to do business with somebody they know, like, and trust. So instead of posting your stupid listings or posting something about real estate that makes no sense, what I do is I post stuff that has value and that attracts people to me. So that's another thing that's cool about the travels, is I use that as a way to attract more people to my page. More people want to follow my journey. And then I can pitch them through my stories and talk about real estate, talk about being an expert in my field. And so through that reality show, Instagram stories, I'm able to tell whatever story I want to my clients, be able to show them what I'm doing. And because of that, I get 10 to 20 leads a month or a week coming in through my Instagram of people that want to work with me. So that's kind of the way I'm doing it. So whether I'm, last year I went to 22 countries. I remember I sold a house on top of my hotel overlooking the pyramids. I was climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, closing deals on that trip. I did all these amazing things, and it's cool because my clients understand, because I'm consistent, because I get back to them, because I still do that stuff. They don't care if I'm in Jamaica or Italy or if I'm here in Orem, Utah. They just want to know that somebody's getting back to them.
It's going to get done.
And so anyway, that consistency is the main thing I always talk to agents about, but really knowing what the system is. And that's what I set up. And that's kind of the system that I now coach other agents to use, because I know what it's done for me. Like, I hated the way I was doing real estate for 5 years. It was effective. I was the number one agent in my county. I was the number one agent in my office. Like, I was closing a lot of deals. I just got burned out. I realized that it's time for money is a very poor exchange for anybody, because the time you never get back, and there's plenty of money.
Yeah, totally. What's so interesting too, because so much of that realtor connection is feeling comfortable with them, knowing their life. And I can't tell you how many people that I said, hey, I'm going to do this with Jimmy. And they're like, dude, I feel like I know his whole life. Like, I just know. I knew he was here, there, and he was doing this, and he was doing that. And it's so true. Like, people feel like you're a friend that's connecting with them on a daily basis. So when they go to sell their house, they're like, I could go to this guy that I knew from a couple of years ago, but me and Jimmy, dude, we chat every day while I check out his Instagram.
Know, like, and trust, right? That's the three things. It's funny. I've literally had people come up to me, and I haven't seen them in 10 years. And they're talking about what I did 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago and stuff. They act like, they're like, feel like they're part of it a little bit, And so I've just really tried to make my social media is something that's very attractive for people to follow. It's fun. This is my highlight reel. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just kind of show people what's available. I think a lot of people settle into a comfortable life, and I take great pride and energy in being very uncomfortable all the time. So I push myself. I do things that, other people would maybe look at as I'm a little crazy, but I enjoy it. I love it. And so, yeah, people will, more than anything else, people will do business with you if they trust that you know what you're doing. So you have to be an expert. But guess what? Guess how you get to show them? You make videos like this. You make videos on your Instagram or your Facebook Live, and you let them see, wow, this person's actually really good at real estate. And then on top of it, you client testimonials, all these different things. Like, I had the former governor of Utah in my office today doing a podcast, and we took some pictures. I mean, I'm not a dummy. I put those pictures all over my social media. It's me and the former governor with Rex Real Estate Team right behind us on the wall, and it's like all those things add up and show people, wow, all right, well, if the governor trusts him, like, this guy's a good guy to work with. And then I have that reputation because I've earned it. And I always put the customer and the client first. But yeah, it is a tool that we have. I mean, when I started out in this business in 2005, I had to make 2,000 calls to reach 2,000 people. Like, I wasn't buying a billboard or a bus bench, And nowadays, all I have to do is make a strategic post on Instagram, and I literally can reach 2,000 people with my message and show them, and they feel like they know me. They feel like they can trust me, and so they want to work with me.
Yeah, totally. I know for me, I mean, even with what I've done, I've tried to build an Instagram, I built a YouTube, I feel like I've now got real estate and got some momentum, but even me looking at what you've done, it's kind of overwhelming. Like, man, how do you get to the point of that many connections? How do you get to the point where you've got that much going for you where it comes that way? I know especially for a new realtor, they have to be feeling just a little overwhelmed. Like, dude, that would be awesome, but I got $5,000 in the bank. What can I do to get there? What would be your advice to someone in that situation?
Yeah, and that's where I say it all goes back to being consistent. So I'll tell you a little secret. I was 7 years into the business before I ever sold a house for over $1 million. This last year, I sold a house for $32.5 million. It was the most expensive home ever sold in the history of the Utah MLS. I went 7 years before I reached my first $1 million sale. Like, I just did this consistently every single day. I didn't take days off. I didn't negotiate with myself. Like, this was what I did every day. I went to work. I made my calls. I had to make 30 calls a day. And even after I quit calling for sale by owners and I focused more on my clients and past clients, I still had to make 30 calls a day. And I know when I'm out of alignment because I'm not making 30 calls a day. And that's when business starts to slow down. And so that's the one thing, like, you can't get caught up with the big picture. You want to have a vision for what you want, but then it's as simple as there was a quote I saw one time that said, be very good at doing little things a lot. You know, like just that little thing every day, like the extra 5 phone calls, the extra 2 emails, the extra handwritten thank you card. You were talking earlier, I sent out 200 books for Christmas to friends and clients of mine. Like, you're not even in Utah. You buy all your stuff in Idaho. But I'm like, no, I'm going to send the guy a book. I like him, And it's like, It doesn't matter. It's like, I just do these little things, but over time it all compounds just like it does in investing in real estate. You let the momentum kind of work for you.
Totally. Well, and I've seen that whether it's with door-to-door sales like what I do, whether it's with investing in real estate, anyone that's been successful, it's not because they're extremely good at what they do or because they worked really hard for a year and then they let up. It's because they have consistently done it over and over and over and over again for a long time, where the success wasn't there, but it really builds on itself, where when you get momentum, I mean, heck, what was the biggest deal? You just closed a massive deal this last year, right?
Yeah, that was a $32.5 million deal. But, that guy was a close friend of mine for 10 years. He never bought anything. He wasn't living in the state of Utah. He wasn't in my market. But I was just a close friend of mine. I went on vacations with him. We worked together. We did things. I invested in his company. I built that up over 10 years. And all of a sudden he called me and he goes, hey, I want to buy this mountain range in Utah. It's got a house on it. And he's like, I already negotiated. It's done. But I'm just going to put your name on it. You trusted in me when no one else did. So I want to make you a millionaire. Like, he literally word for word. That's what he told me. I put 20 minutes into that deal. That's my point. Like, you know how hard I used to work for like a $4,000 commission? Like, my average sell in 2009 was $144,000. That house was the equivalent of selling 100 of those things. So to give you an idea, it was, this didn't come easily. This came over a lot of hard work and just a lot of grind. And I know it's not sexy and it's not popular. Like, I'm actually terrible taking on new agents in my company because they see what I do now and that's where they want to be, but they didn't see the grind. And so I actually don't hire agents unless they've been on their own for 6 months already, because I just don't want them to fall into the trap of thinking they can do what I'm doing now, which is a lot of traveling and fun. I mean, you had to do that grind. You do. And so, I don't know, that's, for me, find out what you want and have big whys, because some days just suck. Some days as a real estate agent suck. Sometimes people screw you over. Sometimes deals fall apart. I've had $1.5 million deals fall apart at the table, and sometimes those days suck. And so if you don't have a couple big whys, like, you have to have several of them. If you don't, you're just not going to put up with that. You're going to end up falling out of it. And so don't look so much as where you're at today, but like, look at it as if this is a 10-year funnel. You got this giant funnel. And you're trying to, you keep looking down here at what the result is. Just focus on what you throw in the funnel. And just throw enough stuff in that funnel for the next 5-10 years, and you will be shocked at the amount of success that comes out of the bottom.
I love that. Now, on the other side of things, what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes you see new realtors making that they need to get rid of?
Yeah, so number one biggest mistake that I see is the lack of professionalism with new agents. Like, when I started out, you got to keep in mind, you were helping people with the biggest investment of their entire lives, right? Like, they're looking at you and comparing you to somebody like me I've sold over 2,500 homes now. Like, that's who you're getting compared against. So you better step up to the plate. Like, you should wear a suit. You should wear a tie. I do these team trainings all the time over at our main office. We have 150 agents in there, and I bet half of them aren't even dressed professionally. Like, some guys got their socks hanging out the bottom of their pants. There's one dude's in joggers. I'm like, dude, you're 25 years old. You want a 45-year-old to trust you with their biggest investment? Like, get real, And so it's just that cleanliness, like that. And then the second part of being that professionalism, there's a really good book called The Sell by Frederick Eklund. He's one of the top agents in the country. Read it. It's amazing. And he talks about how to be professional. But being able to speak that language. I remember a friend of mine when I was very early on in the business. Like I said, my first full year, I sold 60 homes, and everyone was kind of like, how the hell is Jimmy doing this, And we were playing basketball, and he was just kind of like, he told me later, he's like, dude, I was just like, how is Jimmy selling 60 homes? And then we had a conversation about real estate. And he goes, dude, when you started talking about real estate, I felt like I was talking to somebody that had been doing it for 30 years. He said, you just flipped a switch, and every word out of your mouth, I was like, dang, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. He goes, I wanted to work with you immediately. And so you have to be able to speak that language. You have to be able to talk about real estate that way. And you can only do that by putting in the time and the effort, learning the scripts, learning what to say, learning the objections. There's no new objections. So you learn them all, learn 2 or 3 great ways to answer it, and you're going to sound really good to anybody you come across.
I love that. That kind of sparked a thought of mine, and that is, early on, I would get so frustrated because I didn't know that much about investing in real estate. And I thought realtors must know how to invest in real estate. And you go and sit down, and all the realtors I talk to, they're like, oh yeah, that's probably a good one to buy. And you're like, you don't have any idea what you're
Dude,
talking
it's worse than that. I just came out with my new book last year. It's called The Next Wave of Influence in Real Estate, and it's already an Amazon bestseller. And I interviewed 100 of the top millennial agents across the country from every state. And of the 100 agents I interviewed, most of them owned their own home, but less than half owned at least one investment property. Realtors just don't. And so if you're buying investment real estate, like is what you talk about all the time, you need to interview the agent and find one that's very familiar with it. Like my team last year, we did 187 rentals. Like we know exactly what you're looking for. We do a pro forma, breaks this thing down, what this thing's going to do performing for the next 10 years. We can show you everything you need to know. Compare that to a normal agent that's like, yeah, it looks like a good deal. They might be able to show you a cash flow or something, but I can, within $50, tell you what every house in Utah rents for. You know, I can show you exactly the difference in your rates and all these different things. And so it really is a drastic difference which agent you use. And the number one way to tell is just ask them to show you their personal portfolio. I personally, right now, I own 13 real estate properties. I'm on my way to hopefully one day getting where you're at. But my point of that is like, if they aren't investing it themselves, if they're not buying into their own product, then they're probably not the right person to help you find, a deal in your own market.
Well, it's so true. And the funny thing about it is it doesn't take that much work to get good. I mean, there's still some upfront time, but it is crazy to me how many people, whether they're a realtor or anything else, if they just knew the right one-liners, if they just understood their business to where every question they had an answer. I mean, in your business, there can't be more than 40 or 50 questions, if that you consistently get asked. And if you know the perfect answer every time, whether you're dealing with an investor or someone else, that makes all the difference. And yet people will still be like, oh yeah, I'll have to check that out later.
Right.
And they never do.
Right.
So
yeah, my mentor would always say there's no new objections. Just figure out the ones that are, every time you get a new one, write it down, come up with 2 or 3 answers, and now there's no new objections again, And so it was, and I did that. I had a flip chart. I actually laminated it, and I had it in my shower with me. My old roommates always laugh about this. 15 years ago now, but they'd be like, dude, you would be chanting those damn objections in the shower. We're trying to sleep, and you're literally chanting why people need to use you over the other, their brother-in-law that's an agent,
Yeah, no,
it's funny.
I love that. And it's just that consistent putting in the time, knowing your craft, and even if you're not good at the get-go, doing what it takes to get good at it. I mean, anyone could be, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've seen, anyone could be a successful realtor if they're willing to put in consistent time day after day.
Yeah, I mean, anything you do enough times, learn how to do it the right way, and then you do it all day, of course you're going to be good at it. Like, that's the formula. It's a science. Tony Robbins calls it, he says, the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. It's very difficult to become happy or to become fulfilled. That's an art. You have to actually master an art and balance all those things. Achievement's easy. It's a science. You do X, Y, Z, you get a result. Learn what to do it all day, get better at it all the time. You're going to produce a great result. I mean, it's literally that simple.
Yeah. So one last question I had for you. I know you do so much, from parties to traveling to reaching out to people to whatever else. If you had to break down your time and priority to put into those things, because I'm sure that's got to be overwhelming, figuring out, well, do I just party all the time? Where do I put my time? What would you give percentage to? I mean, how do you break down the way you spend your time?
Yeah, so there's one really good rule of thumb is if somebody can do it as well as you and you don't need to be the person that does it, delegate it. So I have an excellent team. I have 2 of the best buyer's agents in the state. I mean, literally one of my buyer's agents made over $800,000 last year. This guy's a rock star. I give him a client, it's done. Both of them, in fact. And then my assistant, my guy that kind of runs my team, I'm more of a manager really, but that dude is the most competent dude. I get asked all the time. People try to hire my way. They don't realize how much I'm paying him until they try to hire my way, and they realize why they can't. He's also my best friend, and he's just, he's so good at what he does. And so when I give something, if they can do it as good as me, they're doing it, right? From there, my job is to lead generate. My number one job as an agent is just to bring in leads. That's my number one job. So I can't ever sacrifice that. So even if I'm out of town or whatever I'm doing, I got to send texts, I got to send emails, I got to send messages on Instagram, I got to make calls. I've got to do the lead generation. The parties themselves are lead generation. Every time I throw a party, the point of throwing that party is I now get to call 200 of my friends and personally invite them to the party. While I'm on the phone, I follow up with, hey, by the way, you looking to buy or sell anytime soon, or you know anybody that is. That's how I make that call. I come from that value first, and then I get to do that. And so like, you know, and I mean, it is kind of tricky. It's a dance, how much time you put towards networking and marketing and all those different things. And, you know, I add on top, I've got, you know, my podcast. I've spent 4 hours today just on my podcast and doing stuff like that and social media marketing. Yesterday, I filmed videos for 5 hours, but I filmed with a buddy of mine who runs a $17 billion real estate fund. And we started talking real estate the whole time. I mean, it's like, it's not wasted time, but I have to do the things no one else can do. And I know if I put in 8 to 10 productive hours doing that and then let my team take care of the rest, then the deal flow is going to come in. But I've got to keep my focus always on lead generation, lead follow-up, and taking care of the clients. And so that's kind of my focus. Again, it's my mentor always called him Bill Pipes, one of the greatest real estate coaches in the country. He would always say, money generating activities. You focus on things that make money and let everybody else do everything else.
I love it. Yeah. Perfect. Well, Jimmy, it has been awesome meeting up with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chandler. Appreciate it, man.
And if you enjoyed the video, please push the like button, subscribe to the channel, and go check Jimmy Rex out. He's got a YouTube channel. He's got an Instagram. He's all over the place, and he is the best of the best. Every day I love watching his Instagram and everything he's doing while also generating huge deals. So with that being said, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.